Oh, we're actually live.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, I am Amanda with DevExpress. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. For us, it's morning, right, Areg?
Yeah, I believe so. We were formerly in sunny Southern California, but I think the weather had other plans.
Yes, we have been in an atmospheric river the last several days
Yeah, and
here.
I've been furiously Googling that term because I've never heard it until a few days ago, apparently. But
No, I didn't know it was a thing either, but apparently it's like so much water, it's like a river flowing in the sky. Is that what
I
you
barely
found?
adapted to the fact that La Nina and El Nino existed, and then now we got these meteorological terms thrown at us. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's yes. So what are we doing today, Areg?
we're actually picking up where we left off last time. And for those of you who are maybe like me and wondering what that may be, let me refresh you a bit. So we were working with a project. We were starting out with Maui, and we were specifically looking to integrate reporting inside of, let's say, a Mac Catalyst app or inside of an iOS app. So you could enter the iOS app, the Mac Catalyst app, and you click a button and you get a DevExpress report. So there is a bit of background to that. The background is that we did install an extension which is a little bit non-standard. It's called, it's not called DevExpress at all. It's just called .NET Meteor. It is one of our guys, Nikita, who worked on this. So we've been making heavy use of it, or at least I have, and I'm a big fan. It saved me a lot of time, and I really prefer it as my go-to debugger in Maui. You'll see it down here. It says like which device I'm actually running as if I debug. Right now, it's set to my the type of Mac I have right now, which is an M1 Mac. So I get this little indicator, Apple Silicon. But anyway, if you go into the project file, which I'm in right now, you'll notice there's a target platform. You may have 5 or 6, but I have one set because I don't like to multi-target. I like to just hit run and debug and get one particular app back at me. So right now it's Mac Catalyst. So if I were to go and hit run and debug, it's that Mac Catalyst is going to match up with the fact that I'm trying to simulate on an M1. And this is basically, yeah, I'm going to pick .NET Meteor. I'm going to also make this a bit bigger so those at home can see it as well. But basically, this is, and yes, I don't care if it's a signed app or not, I'm going to open it anyway. This is where we left off last time, and it's a Mac application that has a single button. You click on the single button, we get Comic Sans in our label, if you remember that. And when I click on this, I'll get a PDF written in our reporting engine. It's a very similar, very simple PDF that just basically says hello from the reporting world, nothing else. So it was just a test to see that, hey, can I build reports? And the answer was yes. And just so you can see where in code we generated that. Um, if I go into this particular project, and it's not in our main page, but if I go into, I believe, the, yeah, it's here. So it is within the code behind for my main page, and it's these 6 lines where I go ahead and just create a control and I insert it into the report, into the main detail band, which it's not data bound, so all I get is this label and this text, and this is what I'm looking at. So this is how I built it in code, and just to kind of reiterate the workflow in Maui, because it's a little bit different, because I did mention multi-targeting. This is one project that's multi-targeted to different platforms potentially, and while I'm at it, I'm gonna collapse this. So this is the main Explorer in VS Code. There's a Solution Explorer option too, which is kind of like a facsimile of what you get in Visual Studio. So this is also an alternate way of looking at everything that's in this folder, and this may look a little more familiar to you if you're using Visual Studio for all these years. But I did mention multi-targeting, and as you notice, we only have one project, but we can kind of use Maui to target many different things. So I want to go ahead and actually retarget this to another one of these supported platforms, and you can also run DevExpress reporting there as well. Let's go ahead and target iOS. Yeah. So I believe that's all I have to do, and I also have to set the simulator device type here to something that is running iOS. So I'm going to pick the iPhone 15, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll go ahead and run and debug, and I think I might have butchered the name here a bit. Let's see, what's it not liking so much about this? Let me undo this change. Let me put in delimiter here. And this is just to showcase that basically where we left off last time, I already showed this last time. It was working last time and it should work again. The idea was that we had a Mac application, which is what we built. We were actually trying to build a Mac application using Mac Catalyst, and we got a iOS app for free. And right now it's loading in the simulator right now. So it's running my simulator, and it's basically very similar to what you get in desktop. And Mac Catalyst is basically Apple's platform for reusing mobile code on desktop platforms. So that's kind of a backstory on that. So I'll go ahead and, well, I guess I copied it, but I could have viewed the PDF or I could have printed it. So let's say I want to print it, try to find a printer from this simulator. Um, do I have a printer? Well, I do have a preview down here. It's really small, but let's maybe go ahead and get it to, I can't get it to zoom, but trust me, my point is that everything functions as you would expect. That there's no real uh, fanciness here. There's no real point to delve into this and look at the PDF from a different angle. I don't think that we're going to get much anyway out of it. So let me go ahead and just head into this report and talk about how we can actually leverage the rest of reporting, not just the PDF output of this, but actually the document preview of reports like this one. And the answer there is you need to actually use MAUI hybrid. So you actually have to use Blazor, a Blazor web view within a MAUI application. So so hybrid versions of a Blazor, basically, for those of you at home that may not be aware of it, the hybrid configuration of Blazor is that you have a web view in your application, and your application could be, like in our case, a MAUI application, or it could be a WinForms app or a WPF app, doesn't matter which. But what matters is that you have a web view host in your application, and you have inside of that host a container, and that there's a region where you're actually displaying a Blazor application. So you have a web app that you're confining to a piece of your desktop application. And we can do that with MAUI as well. And we have to do it here with MAUI to leverage all of our reporting functionality. If you did this, you could also leverage everything else we have on Blazor as well. So that's the other nice thing.
Hey,
So let
Areg,
me
I just wanted to tell you that Nikita is on the
oh,
stream
great, excellent.
and
So we have Nikita again.
made a comment. Just CS project, I think PROJ, doesn't save on first try.
I think that he was hinting at why.
Yeah, what was going
Yeah,
on there?
okay, yeah, that was the problem. Anyway, so what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to start with a brand new project and get up and running with the starter code it's gonna give us. So if you have installed our products, or if you have gone ahead and actually made use of the free MAUI offer, so that is if you go here to our free products, so we have free offers, a bunch of them. We have .NET MAUI here as a free offer, and it will eventually guide you to go to NuGet.org, and I always forget if it's .org or .com. But if you go here and you go to MAUI DevExpress, we have our project templates. So these are free project templates. They're not grouped with our other products. So if you're using our products or you're used to using our products, just be aware that this project template is actually stored somewhere else. I don't think that it's going to be too confusing, but it's just something to be mindful of. So I'm going to go ahead and look at my project templates that I have installed on this machine. So I have the non-free templates, and I also have that free template I just mentioned. And I have a few different options. Today I'm not going to actually go with a DevExpress template. I'm going to start off with uh, kind of a stock standard template. It's going to be this first one, MAUI Blazor. So let's go ahead and do a .NET new MAUI and Blazor, and give it a directory as well. So let's call this project uh, maybe MI Blazor, why not, or MA Blazor, and we'll go into this directory once we create it. Everything looks fine, and so right now at this point, this project that we're in, the folder MA Blazor, it doesn't have anything DevExpress related in it. We're just going to go ahead and open it in our favorite code editor, which happens to be VS Code, and this is also where we have .NET Meteor as well. So if I go ahead and open this, I want to go in and today focus mainly on targeting iOS. So if I go ahead and get rid of these other multi-targets, let's do that very quickly, because it's kind of not really something that is super, how can I say, it's not a great workflow when you have a set of resources you're adding to a project, and then you have to suddenly worry about their compatibility and other frameworks you may not care about. And I do get some strange warnings. I can ignore this safely because my Xcode does work fine. I've been using Xcode for a while. There's no issue with Xcode on this machine. So I want to actually see what packages I do have installed on this machine or on this project. Let me go ahead and put this on the right hand side. It's a little bit of a convenience factor there. So we can just put this little terminal view on the right hand side and always look at it. You can close this as well. So you get a little bit more space, and actually what I need to go ahead and do is I need to add a few DevExpress packages for starters. So if you're at all curious about kind of how we get the names of these or how we find these, you could either get to this through documentation, or you can search for them explicitly by name in our package search. So if you go to DevExpress reporting viewer here, we'll get the name of some packages, and it would help if I'm logged in. I am logged in. So DevExpress, sometimes I need to separate out these verbs. Yeah. So let's go to, it should come up down here. I think also, yeah, there we go. So this is the package that we're going to need. So let's go ahead and make sure we have it installed on this for this project. So .NET, and this is the .NET CLI, so .NET add package, DevExpress, reporting, and as you guessed it, we're adding a viewer, so we need this particular package that contains the viewer for DevExpress reports. So I don't see any spelling mistakes. Usually there are, but wow, right on the first try.
Looks good. Very impressive.
Yeah. And so let me also go ahead and add another package, which is the thing that I keep talking about that you always have to do when you're talking about rendering outside of Windows, which is you have to use a new drawing engine we support. So we support a new cross-platform drawing engine. I just mentioned it every single time we have ever been online together, and Amanda's always really meticulous to tell me that let them know about all the work we did with the drawing engine. I say, okay, I'll let everyone know about the new drawing engine. It's cross-platform.
It's my passion.
Yeah, I know. So there we go. I know that makes you happy. We also have a few smaller dependencies. There are two things. There is something called HarfBuzz and another thing called Skia Sharp. Not our naming conventions. These are Microsoft.
Did you say barf buzz?
HarfBuzz.
Harf.
So it's almost as bad. So Skia Sharp, a little bit more of a name that's pronounceable. Sorry, I can't just say .NET Add. Say .NET Add Package. .NET Add Package Skia Sharp. And there is another Skia Sharp thing that's specifically to do with the platform that we're developing on, in our case. And I believe it's called views.blazor, if I'm not mistaken. And it looks like I'm right there again. And then there, like I said, is some stuff with this other library, which is creatively called HarfBuzz. It handles fonts and font shaping. So I think it's pretty, I think, important in non-Latin scripts. So if we're talking like Arabic or East Asian characters, then I guess it's much more important because otherwise, I don't know what garbled mess we'll get otherwise. We're not gonna be dealing with that this time, but I don't know. Who knows? Let's also, yeah, I haven't added harf buzz, so it's called skia sharp dot harf buzz, I believe. And there is going to be some native assets to the platform we're developing. Like I said today, I don't really want to bother with multi-targeting Android or Mac Catalyst or something else. I just want to focus on iOS, so we're just going to add native assets for iOS. So let's add some package here for harf buzz sharp, and it's called native assets, and in my case the platform we're developing on is iOS. And I believe that if I look at what packages I have, so .NET list packages, I should get a good list of kind of what we've installed. So there we go. It's a nice little table. It looks pretty reasonable to me. I don't think we missed anything, so I'll go and close this. And we can immediately, I think, go ahead and just run and see what the result is. This is another point to mention, is that I mentioned this little bar down here, which is the simulator option that we get in Meteor. Sorry, there's so many nouns floating in my mind. I'm just constantly like, wait, what is it? Is it called Starship? No, Meteor. So we have Meteor. So done in Meteor, we have these similar options, and we kind of don't want to worry about Android. Like I said, we want to focus on iPhone. So let's go ahead and target this to iPhone. Let's go ahead and debug our applications. So let's run and debug, and let's see what the default app looks like with the packages installed into it. So it's going ahead and running it, and here's my trusty simulator, and my simulator should run it up and fire it back at us. And yeah, this is the version that doesn't have much, so there's it's not like we have well, yeah, it's not like we were doing anything other than packaging the default. So they just loaded up just now, and okay, great, we got it. So let's go into the files and talk about kind of how this is different than the standard MAUI application, because things are a little bit different. So this is kind of what you're going to get independent of the platform. So this imports Razor file, kind of informs the rest of our MAUI app kind of what the base namespaces are that really you can rely on. They can just start using without explicitly naming them or without explicitly using them. And so this looks like a pretty good set of namespaces. I don't think we're going to run into any real problems. This www is the actual hosted directory. This is going to be a WebAssembly app, but this is going to be where the WebAssembly is going to live. And then we have the other things, which if you are used to Blazor, you're used to by now, which is we have these routable components, which are pages. And so we have, you may have noticed these from the navigation. We have 3 options in navigation. These are the 3 options in the navigation. That's counter, home, and weather. So if I go back into that main navigation, so I believe it's under, if I'm not mistaken, and actually let me go ahead and collapse this so I can actually take a look at it. But if I were to, for example, go into my main, actually I think it's under nav menu. So I go to nav menu. When I was clicking around and getting a menu of where to go, I had these options. Really, this third option is not so great because I don't really want to have a weather-based application. It's not extremely interesting to me. What I'd rather have is some ability for you to navigate to what I want to show you, which is a report viewer. So I'm going to go ahead and point this at a URL that doesn't exist yet. It's going to be for the report viewer page, which I haven't created yet. And I'm going to go ahead and also, instead of calling this weather, which is going to be extremely confusing when you get reports back, I'm going to call it report viewer. So when you click on the report viewer link, you get sent to the report viewer page. And like I said, that page doesn't exist yet, so I should probably go ahead and add it. So let's go ahead and add that report viewer. So we have it here. And so this should get displayed. Right now it's empty. I probably need to make sure that I have some bare bones idea of what it is I'm going to be putting in there. This is kind of like not the most interesting part. This is kind of just a bunch of dependencies that I need regardless. So I can't get around it. I'm just going to go ahead and move this in.
Hey,
So every
Areg.
report viewer, yes,
Nikita's commenting again. Hi,
yes.
Nikita. Reporting.viewer not installed on your project. You forgot to write .blazor part of the name.
Ah, let's go ahead and take care of that as well. So it looks like, yeah, I don't have that package. So let me go ahead and add that particular package. So .NET add package, and another indicator that that it's not there is that it doesn't look like I have the viewer being registered as a valid type. So if I go ahead and I add DevExpress reporting, I believe viewer, that was the name of it, and we'll see if it installs fine or not. Right now it's pulling, it says there is no, okay, it's probably an issue with something I typed incorrectly right there. So DevExpress Blazor reporting, that was the problem. So I have to actually include the word Blazor. So this was what was missing. And now it should have installed successfully, and now these red squigglies should eventually disappear. So I'll go ahead and save this. And I'll also have to go ahead and add a few entries into the root file that actually has things like CSS styles, because there are themes that we kind of expect to be there. And again, this is stuff that isn't the most interesting, but I kind of have to have it, otherwise it's going to be uglier than how my apps typically are, which is, I think I'm not necessarily known for the prettiest of applications, let's face it.
Aww.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a designer. That's my my excuse that I'm going with constantly. But
Your apps have personality, though.
they have a ton of personality. They have fonts. Let's say that. So we've added two different style sheets. The one style sheet here is for Blazing Berry. Wow, it's a mouthful. For this Blazor theme called Blazing Berry. And then
It's a tongue twister.
the base style sheet, which is just for the reporting components. And then also we still have problems here because I don't have a report to point to yet. That's one problem. So let's go ahead and just give this a report. And let's actually pull it from the other project we were talking about, reporting. So in this project, we had an idea of a report, which, if I'm not mistaken, was this thing here. So I'll have to strongly type it as well, because this is a top level statement in my code behind here. So I'm going to give it a XtraReport type, XtraReport, call it, I believe this is what I was calling it, REP, and so it should pick up this fact that it's REP. There's the name, and I believe that that should have been it. What else is it complaining about? I probably also need to very quickly verify that everything else works. Let me just do a quick .NET build, see what it complains about, if it actually needs to be restored or not. Not sure if there was a problem that it encountered. I may have forgotten one of these NuGet packages. What is the warning that I'm getting? Yeah, this is a nice classic annoying warning as a .NET 7 or so. I think I think everyone's well aware of this, but basically you have to either have a sort of rule added to your CS proj to allow you to kind of play fast and loose with nullables, or you just have to kind of explicitly say that this is a nullable type. And since we know that, well, we're going to go ahead and assign viewer it later. It's not, I think, going to be an issue that we are going to have a viewer, so there's not going to be a worry about it being null in our case. Okay, so it looks like I have the right URL here, and maybe even let me go ahead and reorient this right back to the bottom, because actually I'm not used to having that filling up that much space. Let's go ahead and see if we can run this without any problems. So again, it's .NET Meteor Debugger, and we'll get some idea about whether or not I could actually pick up the XReport viewer type. And this is going to be running in our simulator. Just fire it up. Okay, and now we don't get weather, we get report viewer instead. And we get unhandled error. We'll find out what the unhandled error is. I'm guessing that something was set to null for starters. So we'll go ahead and add more handler code. But the point is that we get something else. We don't get the weather information here anymore.
Thank goodness.
So maybe what I want to go ahead and do is I want to go ahead and override the default rendering. So what I'm going to do is, oh, I know why. I just realized, duh. There is a dependency injection framework I kind of totally skipped over, which is kind of what I take for granted, which is that I expect that we already have all the dependency injection loaded in. But since we started out with a template that kind of is not aware that DevExpress exists, this is a big problem. So you may encounter this problem too. So it's kind of we encounter this in an organic way. So
and encounter it together.
Yeah. So this is kind of why I was thinking, why are the types not being registered? Well, the reason is because there are two things that are missing. One is that we don't have a concept, a DevExpress Blazor, so we don't have any DevExpress Blazor components. Secondly, we don't have the report viewer component that we're talking about. So add DevExpress. And there's two options: server-side Blazor and WebAssembly. I said that this is going to be a WebAssembly version, and that should go ahead and fix our problems for us. And I think that was the problem that he was basically complaining about. And we may have to restore the project or run it again for it to pick up the fact that the dependency injection has been resolved. So now we have the right services being injected, so that we have this concept that we need loaded within our page. So within this particular component, which is report viewer, which is routed to this URL, we're going to get something. It's going to be our trusty sample report we built last time. Okay, wow, yeah, there we go. The only negative thing is that this is also kind of zoomed out a lot, and that's fine for showcasing that it works, but I think we want to do better this time. We want to actually use the fact that it's a completely usable application. I don't want to force someone to have to go in and change zoom settings manually. So for example, changing the zoom settings manually means that I have to go in and toggle these settings, and then I can see the label. What I want to go ahead and do is I want to have some sensible default set up from the start. So in this code behind, in this code block, what I want to do is I want to override my method. It's going to be my onAfter render async. So this is, again, not specific to Maui. This is actually a Blazor idea. So this is something that you're probably used to if you've handled component generation in Blazor. But basically, for the most part, I should also mention the whole scope of everything we're talking about is Blazor WebAssembly. The only piece of this that involves a MAUI itself is the layer or the shell around the Blazor Web View in this case. So it's the thing that handles dependency injection, the thing that has main page. So it's really, for the most part, not so much a MAUI application as much as it is um, a Blazor application in WebAssembly. And what I want to go ahead and do is I want to call the base version of this this particular method. And I actually do want to check that if this is actually being passed in as true, that I do want to go ahead and set a sensible default for my zoom. And let's also, for the sake of uh, maintaining that promise that I said the viewer should be not null, let's go ahead and just kind of hard code this as well, because I'm kind of allowing it to be null, and I might as well be fair here with what's going on. And I'm going to call this an async call to set the zoom levels to something that maybe is a more sort of um, looks like it's expecting a double value. So here we're going to give it 200% zoom. This is going to be zoomed in a bit, and I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go and run this as well to see what result I get back now. And so it's running. It's going to hit my simulator, and again, needs to package the app and needs to actually deploy it onto this simulator, so it takes a little bit of time. And now when I go into the menu, again, I'll see report viewer, but it will give me the sample report, but at least this time I should get some sort of meaningful, zoom level, so I can see my small sample text that I put on the report. Now, I did mention last time that we don't really have to rely on building reports in this way. We can kind of be a little bit more designer centric. I know that I'm not a designer centric guy, but there are other people out there, maybe in your organization, who are, and you may want to allow, your Michelangelo da Vinci or your, the other folks who are artistic in their pursuits to kind of take a whack at building reports and displaying them within apps, not necessarily guys that can code 8 lines of some mean C#. So I'm going to go ahead and give you some insight as to how to do that. As you all know, for years you could do that inside of Visual Studio. So if you go to Visual Studio, we have a report designer. You can use that to your liking. You can go ahead and access the smart tag, and you have wizards and all those things, which is great. But as you know, there is no option here like that in macOS. I can remote into a Windows machine, but I don't want to do that when I can avoid it. What I have instead is another extension we wrote, which is a new report designer that's available in VS Code. So if I go here, and the keyboard shortcuts are always funny in macOS, but if I go into the second option, DXReporting Start Designer, this starts the backend for our designer. So it's going to say it's initializing and it's ready to use. And I think it actually, what it did also behind the scenes without mentioning it, is added this config JSON file. So you can add your connection strings here. And if you do add them, I would like to note that don't keep them here in your application if you're going to be using like WebAssembly, because the WebAssembly app can't access this part of the project hierarchy. Just a little note. But I'll go ahead and create a new project, or sorry, a new report, not a new project. And I'll call it like Rep 1 maybe creatively. And I'll get an actual designer this time, so I'm not just relying on uh, the code version of the report and going through bands and different names of XR controls. I'm actually going ahead and designing something. So I'm gonna go ahead and just, it's not gonna be data bound. I'm not gonna use a wizard for this. What I'm gonna do is take another creative label, and always has to be something funny. So yet another creative label, maybe yet another creative label. And I think that I have rich text available to me in this XR control, so I can go ahead and give this some zest, I believe. So I could go ahead and look at my font settings. So these are the same sort of options that you get inside of the end user report designer and on the web. So if you're building this report in something like ASP.NET, you'd see these options available to you as well. So maybe I want to go ahead and make this consolas. Thought we had consoles as the default. Let's see what other options I have. I don't want to pick one that's totally unreadable, but let's.
Comic Sans, or what was it? Comic Sans.
Yeah, we did that last time, but I don't want to go through the font repository and add it this time. Let's go ahead. Yeah. Oh my God, I saw Comic Sans. So let's go ahead with Comic Sans. Let's not let anything stop us from being as unprofessional as we possibly can. So Comic Sans it is, and let's really make this stick out and let's bold it up. So we're getting this into this amazingly misspelled label. I'm going to even go ahead and change the alignment as well. So all the same properties that you're used to when you're designing the repx file in Visual Studio are here as well. So I could go ahead and set things like alignment, and I could use things like other XR controls as well. Right now I'm using XR label, so yet another creative label. And maybe I'll even do something like foreground color as well, because why not? So let's go and set the foreground color here. Maybe something more on brand. So yet another label. I wanted something orange. Let's go ahead and get another creative label. Nothing can stop you from being as orange as you'd like. So the interesting thing that I want to also showcase is that, so this file now is called rep1, and I'm going to actually move it into the place where the rest of my assets for the WebAssembly application live, which is in this www root folder. So let's go ahead and have it there. And say, if you want to move it, yes, I do. And when I did that, it kind of freaked out, which is great because I wanted to actually show this anyway. So it freaked out and it's not giving me the designer, which is excellent because I wanted to showcase what is in this file. And what's in this file is not a class definition. It's actually the repx file. So if you're used to .repx files, this is what that is. So this means that we could actually start using some methods that you could call repx files from. So if we have the path for this repx layout, we can actually just use that instead. So let's go ahead and maybe get rid of this particular report. So this one, so let's toggle, or let's comment this, always with the strange hotkeys. Okay, so let's go ahead and we have a static member to actually generate a report from a file, and I said that we need a repx file. We need a path to the repx file, which is what it's saying. It says it wants a first argument, path to the repx file. And what I said is that file here, rep1, is exactly that. It's nothing other than a repx file, which is a glorified XML file. I just gotta know where I'm pointing to, which, like I said, is under this www root folder. And I'm gonna pull in this rep1, and I'm gonna decide if I want to load this asynchronously or not, and we'll just go with the default option, yes. So now we're no longer doing this based off of the report that I kind of quickly hard coded. This is based on the report that we designed in VS Code. So let's actually verify that that's actually what's happening. What is it not liking about this? I think that I think I'm maybe this comment style is not. Yeah, I'm never really sure about block comments when I see them. I'm like, how do we do block comments in Razor? No, it's like not liking about. It's not liking something else that's happening here. So what was changed, or what did I touch? Let's go back a few steps and see what it was. So let's go back a few steps just to not have this broken anymore and see if there is the same problem here. Okay, there isn't. Nope, it's also the same problem with the DX report viewer in this particular case. So I'm not sure what it was in my markup that got changed. Let me go ahead, and I think it might have something to do with cannot implicitly convert from element reference to okay. The naming convention looks all right and correct. We do have a report by this name, so that looks correct too. Let me try one more time. Bound markup element with unexpected name. It looks like there might be something that got thrown off, maybe in my original, when I was going ahead and adding DX Blazor report viewer. I don't know if I added a typo somewhere without realizing I did. Let's go ahead and delete this name, and let's see what symbols it recognizes in the scope. So DX port and if it doesn't, I will just head back a few more steps and see what we get back. It's very interesting to see that. Well, what I can go ahead and do is I'll temporarily remove this, and I'll DevExpress my using statements all correct. DevExpress reporting via internal services. Of course, this name doesn't make sense if this is the case. It's very interesting. Let's go ahead and place that viewer in one more time and see if that helps at all. I don't know why there was a problem the first time. Cannot explicitly convert the type. I am using everything the way I would be expecting to use it. Let's go ahead and look at my imports. It might be that I'm missing something important. So let me go ahead and see if having something like DX Blazor reporting is going to help. DX Blazor reporter viewer. Let's actually take a look in our documentation really quickly and see where we put this. Okay, so bear with me for a moment here while we look in our documentation. So just to reiterate, we kind of built everything except for the custom version of the report. So we built everything except for the version of the report that was designed inside of VS Code. Document viewer. Okay, DX report viewer, and it looks like it's in the right namespace, and I already did install that package, and I could just verify that that package is installed. Let's go ahead and .NET list package. Direct reporting. Or DevExpress, yeah, case sensitive, DevExpress, Blazor reporting viewer. Um, and if I need to, I'll see if .NET add package DevExpress, maybe reporting core is necessary. This might help, might not. Let's take a look. Let's find out together. And it looks like that's not the name of
Well,
that
there was.
package exact. Let me go
I don't know if
ahead.
you misspelled that or not, Areg. You have
Oh, yeah,
DevExpress.
yeah. That always helps to not misspell. Okay, that looks like it's resolving to the name, but I'm not sure if that is where it's from. Let's follow. Markup of it's intended to be a component at using for its namespace. Well, yes, this is its namespace at the top at using. Well, actually, I have this same step without a typo already working. So let me just head right into that. I mean, I know this is kind of a halfway house, but honestly, there is no difference between this step and kind of where I already have this. So let's, this is where we started, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that if I head into some of the other options I have here, so I have this particular file with this project. I believe this version of the project does have the rate markup. So whatever the markup problem was is not going to be the case here. So there's a report viewer. In this case, I'm referencing another report, the XtraReport viewer with no issues, these same usings, and the code block is correctly commented. I just want to check to see if there was any difference between this and my own version.
Do you want to know
Oh yeah,
Nikita's suggestion?
sure. I think that I might be missing my components, but yeah, go ahead.
Maybe clean your bin object folders.
Yeah, I'll try that as well, because that's kind of from the days of WinForms that they tend to resolve strange issues we were having. So I'll do that next.
Is that like unplug it and plug it back in for WinForms?
Yeah, that is basically plug it in, plug it out, etc. But let's see if I have the option of, let me actually, I've gone back so many steps backward, I need to really actually point this to a version of the report that exists here in my code behind. So I'll make my code behind block actually work again. And let's go ahead and have a functioning block. And this is a method call. So there we go. And let's also make sure, yeah, I do have components. Okay, so I'll follow Nikita's recommendation. So I have a bin and an OBJ, so I can try getting rid of both of them. And I could try a .NET restore, or I can just try to rebuild from scratch and see if that helps. If it doesn't, I think I have another functioning version of this project. For whatever reason, decided not to be compliant. I have to sit down and figure out why it was having that problem. It looks like that problem got resolved. So let's go ahead, head into the simulator, and the path. Oh yeah, there's also this config file is in the wrong place. I mentioned this before, but if you're relying on this, and I guess in my case, my report thinks I am relying on it, but put in the main location where my WebAssembly assets live. But yeah, I need this in the location where the WebAssembly assets do live. And let's go ahead and run and debug one more time. So this is the same thing as .NET restore and then attaching. Oh, it did not like something. Let's find out what that something was. that something was, well, yeah, that's because I went back so many steps. I kind of forgot what I was using the zoom for. The zoom was where I pass in a double, so it can't just be empty. So I was passing 200% zoom, so that's 2.0 as a double. And this is the old report, but whatever. Let just live. um, okay, and I think that that actually was a problem, that the asset being outside of the place where WebAssembly assets live threw some sort of problem into the, you know, what the lookup was like with bin and obj. I had to clear everything and then had to fix that problem. It's kind of like, I guess, the Blazor equivalent of having to delete my designer files in WinForms.
Mm-hmm.
But let's also showcase the thing I wanted to show, which was basically what happens if I were to use that particular designer file, or that report I designed. So let's go ahead and comment out this report and call that report that I built, which is the thing that caused all the problems, is ref1. So let's go ahead and undo uh, and comment this out. So comment this out, and we're going to go ahead and, like I said, from the regex file, so XtraReport from file, and it's going to be the path to this thing, which is www root, I believe, and ref1, and we can just load async, doesn't matter, and that should just be fine. And now, instead of getting the report that has that one label that just says welcome to the reporting world, or it said something like that, and it's going to say instead another creative label or something to that effect. It's going to say another great label. So let's open the simulator. Okay, no errors, nothing. So it should actually, it's now going to go ahead and load up our app. Now our app is going to have a slightly different report in it. And yeah, I wasn't really expecting to have that strange WebAssembly problem, but it happened. So yet another creative label. Yeah, it never let me spell, but yeah, it does work. So we do actually have a report here. I don't know how we're doing for time, but we could just keep going, building this out a little bit more, or we may be pressed for 10. I'm not sure which one we're at.
We got 6 minutes, Areg.
Okay, if we have only 6 minutes, I want to delve into kind of the next kind of big piece of what we want to build. The smaller piece is that we could export the report and build an export service and inject it into the program through MAUI program, which is great. It's not too difficult. But what I want to do is touch on the fact that really in a real world application, we're going to have different people accessing this, let's say, reporting solution with different user roles, and we want to show a different report or a different set of data in their reports based on that fact. And actually, we do have a solution at DevExpress, conveniently enough, for that. So if you go to DevExpress free offers, and you scroll down to the very bottom, you'll see something called .NET App Security and Web API Service. And if I click on download, I think I've already signed up for this. Looks like I haven't through this, but this is the main landing page. And there's these amazing tutorial videos, Amanda. You might recognize some of them. I think they're narrated wonderfully. Yeah, they taught me actually a lot. Basically,
You're welcome.
for those of you at home who are wondering what I'm talking about, basically this is an outgrowth of kind of our middleware layer, which is XAF. So XAF takes care of basically building a complete solution, building middle tier basically around the fact that we already give you presentation components. So you come with your data, you bring your own data, we give you components, and then the middle part, The controllers are usually things you write and you're responsible for, except XAF makes it fairly standard or easy to basically, with a few clicks and a few really helpful wizards, to get up and running with that middle tier. Um, and specifically, this day and age, you may have in the past relied on having like an n-tier architecture in like one solution, but nowadays people have obviously a bigger reliance on microservices and web services. So that's where this sort of approach comes in, and it's totally free. So the only proviso or the only caveat is you have to actually run this in Windows. So let me go ahead and go into my Windows machine. So I hope that, I'm not sure if my screen sharing software can pick up the fact that I'm in Windows. Does it, Amanda?
Um, yeah, it's picking it up.
Okay, great. So you see Visual Studio in front of me. Um, basically, and please interrupt me if I'm just like totally wrong and you're not seeing Visual Studio, but I just clicked New Project, and I have all the templates that you're kind of familiar with if you've used our other components. And if you install this free offer, what you see is if you search for XAF templates in particular, you'll get one option that is free and available with this offer, which is not these two. These two are basically XAF proper. So you don't want to go with these two. You want to go with this web API, and this web API can be consumed anywhere, including in MAUI, which is why I'm going over it. And you can build it with XAF. You can build it in whatever ORM you'd like, whether it be XPO, which is ours, or you could go with industry standard NV framework. Let's go with NV framework, and let's obviously give this some sort of OAuth. So let's OAuth 2, and let's not add all these modules that XAF has as optional modules. We have a DevExpress, we have a dashboard module, for example, and a multi-tenancy module. We don't want to add any of those stuff or auditing. We just want, a web API service. And so that's how you build this service. So if you're wondering that, how do we build it? We build it with a few points and clicks in Visual Studio. Once you actually have that, we don't rely on you having a Windows computer anymore. So let's go back into kind of the result of that service, or having created that service. So if I go into my terminal, I actually have a ready pre-built version of this, which is I have a MAUI and a web API project. So I have the web API project, which is the thing we're looking at in Visual Studio. So if I go into my text editor, which is again VS Code, I could actually run the debugger for this, and it looks a little ugly, yeah, but it looks like it's rendering the container screen. But let's go ahead and run the web service so I could actually consume it in other places, and it's going to load up a Swagger page to hit the endpoints on this web API that we have. And it's running. So this is the web API that you can generate in Visual Studio the same way I just did. And now I have a running web API. It's going to be located here, port 5000. So if I were to hit this, I think that I get a landing page mentioning, oh, well, it's not a landing page. It looks like I have to actually hit one of the valid inputs. It's not a super big deal. I'll let the next piece hit the valid points on this this web service. So let's go ahead and open a driver app to actually load our web API. So this is a MAUI app that's not Blazor. It's just a regular MAUI application that's just consuming our web API. I'll show you what the workflow is supposed to be like. And I'm going to go ahead and target this. Like I said, I don't like multi-targeting in these examples. So let's go ahead and target this specifically to iOS because that's what we've been showing today. And it's going to be the iPhone. And let me go ahead and run this particular example. And what this will do is that it should give me a few different user types that if I were to look for them, the names of these users include things like viewer and I believe admin. So it's actually described in the web API. So if I go into the web API and I go into the, I believe, web API update, yeah, the database update, and I go to the updater code here. This basically is where we see the data. So updater.cs is where we see the data, and it's right now debugging. But there's a few user roles. One of them is called admin, no password. And there are a few other user roles as well, and those include, if I'm not mistaken, viewer as well. So I have viewer and I have editor, and I've already gone ahead and I don't need a breakpoint here, but let's go ahead and sign up as, let's say, viewer. And again, it's going to be, in the meantime, this app did load up and it's running, and I can now log in to this web API. So I think I want to try viewer. The correct password for this is just an empty password, and I can just hit sign in, and I should get a result back. So I get two results back as a result of logging in. So the point is that this was not really something I was looking to integrate directly into reporting at this point, but I wanted to showcase that it exists because it's kind of the next obvious thing that once you can show report, you actually want to have some sort of idea of user roles and authentication. And the point is that we do have it. So we can actually leverage this next time. And the point being is that we can consume a web API service, and DevExpress happens to allow us to author these types of web API services with security management and authentication taken care of for us. Of course, you're not going to be hard coding in plain text the user roles here like we did, but the point still stands. So that's where I think it's a good point to leave off, because I think we could just keep going on and on. But at this point, what we've done is showcase that, hey, it's possible to actually use DevExpress reporting in MAUI, and it's also possible to get some idea of user roles as well injected into the application.
Yeah, looking good, Areg.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not quite sure like where to take it from here. I'm just so excited and so eager to show the next step. It's just that unfortunately I'm pretty sure the next step is going to be pretty massive, because we're talking about two very big layers that need to kind of be brought together into one application. Okay. So what we have now is a report and some login management system. It's yet to be seen how these two are going to be playing together.
Well, I can't wait to see how it pans out. All right, everybody. So Arg will be back with the exciting continuation of this in 2 weeks. So not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after.
Yes.
And you can sign up to follow us. You can sign up for notifications so you know when we go live, so that you won't miss a thing. All right. Thank you, Arg. Thank you all for being here. Sure. And that is it for this one. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.